But Lamont Roach is a good fighter. And if you know you're boxing, you know it's a good fight. But he is a super featherweight. He's much smaller than Tank. But I don't think it's a bad fight. But it's gone down terribly because no one knows who Lamont Roach is. But it's what were the options for Tank, really? He doesn't want to fight Shakur, and Shakur got injured.
Boxing pros have shared their official predictions for the upcoming Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach fight. Promoter Eddie Hearn isn't fazed by Gervonta Tank Davis, selecting super featherweight Lamont Roach Jr. as his opponent for the December 14th fight. In Hearn's view, Tank had limited options with the top-tier names tied up, leaving Roach as the most viable choice for the bout. The other potential opponents for Tank Davis, Eden De Los Santos, Andy Cruz, Keyshawn Davis, and Raymond Muratalla aren't any more recognizable than Lamont Roach. Even if Davis had picked one of them, casual boxing fans still wouldn't know their names, and it wouldn't lead to a boost in pay-per-view sales compared to his decision to fight Roach. Eddie Hearn expressed to Fight Hub TV that he believed the online reaction was somewhat unfair. He noted that while many dislike the fight, Lamont Roach is a skilled fighter. However, Hearn pointed out that the issue stems from Roach's lack of recognition, and with Tank's status in the sport, people were expecting bigger matchups, which this fight will not deliver.
The online reaction is a little bit unfair. Everybody hates the fight, but Lamont Roach is a good fighter. It's not but the problem is no one knows who he is. And I think with, Tank's position in the sport, people want him to be in the big fights, and it's not a big fight.
The backlash isn't simply because Roach is an unfamiliar name to many. The real problem lies with the dedicated boxing fans who do know him, and they have no interest in watching him face Tank Davis. Casual fans likely won't mind since most aren't familiar with Davis's previous opponents anyway, except for Ryan Garcia. Tank's handlers have been cautious about pairing him with opponents familiar to fans, opting instead to protect him like a prized asset. While this strategy has kept his win streak alive, it has also limited his earning potential. Had he faced more high-profile competition over the past 11 years, his financial rewards would likely have been much greater. Hearn remarked that those familiar with boxing would recognize it as a good fight, but acknowledged that Roach, being a super featherweight, was much smaller than Tank. He added that while he didn't consider it a bad fight, it had been poorly received because Lamont Roach was relatively unknown. Hearn also questioned what other options Tank really had, noting that Tank didn't want to fight Shakur, who had also suffered an injury. Tank versus Roach shapes up to be a similar affair to Tank's previous bout with Frank Martin, a lopsided contest from the start. This time, the imbalance is even more pronounced, as Roach lacks the power to pose any real threat or keep Tank at bay. He comes off as a budget version of Shakur Stevenson, which could very well be why Tank handpicked him. It looks like Roach is being used as a warm-up to prepare Tank for a potential showdown with Shakur. Hearn explained that several potential matchups for Tank were not available, pointing out that Haney wasn't active, the Ryan Garcia rematch wasn't an option, and Pitbull Cruz had been defeated, which had likely been the fight they were planning to arrange. He also mentioned that Valenzuela wasn't ready for such a fight. Overall, while he understood the reaction, Hearn admitted that the Tank versus Roach fight wouldn't generate big numbers, despite it being a good fight that people were simply unaware of.
Haney's not around fighting, Ryan Garcia rematch isn't there, Pitbull Cruz got beat, and that was definitely the fight I think they were going to make. Valenzuela's not ready. So, all in all, I get it, but it's just not going to do big numbers because it's not a fight that people are aware of is actually quite a good fight.
Coach Stephen Edwards disagrees with the popular notion that the Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach showdown is a cherry pick. While many share that sentiment, Edwards holds a different view, standing apart from those who believe the matchup lacks real competition. Although Edwards does not believe that Roach will prevail, he does not agree that WBA lightweight champion Tank Davis is the cherry picker. Fans feel this matchup is entirely one-sided, with frustration mounting over Tank's consistent choice of lackluster opponents throughout his 11-year career. Had they pitted him against elite talents like Vasily Lomachenko, Edwin De Los Santos, or Shakur Stevenson from time to time, fans would have tolerated a few softer matchups with opponents like Lamont Roach or Rolly Romero. But that hasn't been the case. Tank's career has been a steady diet of nothing but appetizers. I don't feel it's a cherry pick because I thought they were going to fight in their hometowns because they live in DC and Baltimore. I think they think it's a cherry pick because of how highly they think of Tank, said Stephen Edwards to Mill City Boxing about the fight. They look at Tank like he should be fighting Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, and Shakur Stevenson. He hasn't fought those guys yet, so they think of him so highly that anything less than that is going to look like a cherry pick. I don't think he can beat Tank, said Steven. While Edwards might reject the notion that Davis versus Roach is a cherry pick, the broader boxing community doesn't see it that way. Fans and pundits alike are frustrated, viewing Tank as being deliberately set up against softer opponents. They believe this strategy is designed to extend his career by minimizing damage and inflating his reputation beyond his actual ability. Tank has been known to drop rounds against less experienced opponents, such as Rolly Romero, Frank Martin, and Isaac Cruz. These bouts revealed that Tank relies heavily on his knockout power rather than boxing skill, benefiting from strategic matchmaking that protects his record. However, this matchup is evolving into a captivating technical showdown, complemented by an impressive undercard. While Tank is widely regarded as the overwhelming favorite, many experts and fellow boxers aren't entirely dismissing Lamont Roach's chances. In anticipation of the event, Fight Hype caught up with Richardson Hitchens and Kenneth Sims Jr. to gather their insights, and their responses may just take you by surprise. Fight Hype caught up with the unbeaten super lightweight Hitchens to discuss his history with two particular fighters and what fans can look forward to in their upcoming showdown. The New York native drew parallels between Tank and Roach, urging fans not to underestimate the latter. Hitchens expressed confidence that the 25-1 contender would deliver a surprising performance, promising an electrifying bout that fans won't want to miss. Lamont came up in the same type of environment as Tank. They both got a lot of similarities. I think a lot of people are writing Lamont off because of loss against Jamel Herring, but he has shown consistency over the years, stated Hitchens while talking about how Roach has turned his career around since the loss against Herring in 2019. The 18-0 fighter went on to say that even he was looking forward to the battle, and that it would be a technical feat. While talking about who will have the upper hand in a technical fight, Richardson Hitchens stated, "It is going to be a great technical fight. Tank is a defensive genius. He knows how to protect himself and knows ways to maneuver." While defending Roach as a capable opponent for Gervonta Davis, Hitchens added, "It's not just like Tank is just picking out a bum. Lamont probably knows how to fight more than a lot of guys Tank fought." Conversely, the welterweight standout Kenneth Sims Jr., who has faced off against both Roach and Davis, offered his insights on the upcoming bout, outlining the strategies each fighter needs to employ in order to secure victory. Initially, the bossman refrained from making any predictions about the fight, feeling it would be disrespectful given his amicable relationships with both competitors. However, he eventually relented and reminisced about the memorable moments he and Roach had shared during their national semifinal bout. However, the Illinois resident said that since Roach and Tank are both counterpunchers, one of them has to come out of their comfort zone to get the other one to open in order for them to win the fight. He also mentioned Gervonta Davis's slow start and how it takes him some time to find his rhythm. Tank starts slow, but as the fight goes, he is going to pick it up and then he get busy, stated Kenneth Sims Jr. Lamont Roach is a skilled combatant. He is a champion fighter and technically sound. When it comes to potential opponents for Gervonta Tank Davis in a pay-per-view showdown, Paulie Malignaggi would much rather watch someone who has delivered electrifying performances at the elite level or possesses a captivating persona that sparks debate. Paulie Malignaggi said, "Davis is a bona fide pay-per-view star. Whether you agree that so many of his fights should have been on pay-per-view, and I disagreed with most of them, he's been established on pay-per-view for a while now. What's been lacking is the proper opposition necessary to charge those kinds of fees. This matchup seems more fitting as a substitute if Davis-Stevenson were to happen, only for Stevenson to withdraw due to an injury. If there were a solid assurance that Davis and Stevenson would face each other next, this fight would carry more weight, but that doesn't seem to be the case at all." Malignaggi added, "Davis has to be considered a heavy favorite. With respect to Roach, if he won, it would be the upset of the year, and a matchup capable of producing the upset of the year shouldn't be on pay-per-view." Meanwhile, Kenny Ellis, the coach of Gervonta Tank Davis, has stepped up to support his fighter amid fan criticism regarding the selection of super featherweight Lamont Roach Jr. for Davis's upcoming title defense of his WBA lightweight championship. Fans see this bout as merely another chapter in Tank Davis's career-long pattern of cautious matchmaking, believing he's reluctant to embrace risks that could define his legacy. Ellis acknowledges Roach as a formidable opponent and a 7-time national champion. Yet, his professional journey has seen setbacks, including a defeat against Jamel Herring a few years back. While Roach has shown resilience, he struggles with power and only narrowly edged out Hector Luis Garcia last year, a fighter whom Tank Davis dispatched with ease in 2023. Many fans believe that Tank Davis shouldn't have to keep dipping into the super featherweight division for his matchups. Clearly, there were several contenders ready to face Tank Davis in December, yet he opted for the safer choice, selecting the low-power super featherweight Lamont Roach Jr. for a match that posed minimal risk. They fought in the amateurs 2 or 3 times times, with Tank being the winner. They sparred a few times. Tank got the best of the sparring. They're just bigger and stronger now and older. Tank's last 4 or 5 opponents had film about how they beat him up in sparring. If that's the case, that happens. But on fight night, we all know the outcome, said Coach Kenny Ellis to Fight Hype when asked about Gervonta Tank Davis's next fight against Lamont Roach Jr. on December 14th. It's not Tank's fault. The guys with the so-called names turned Tank down. They priced themselves out. Because people don't know Lamont, he's not as popular. They think he can't fight, but Lamont can fight, and he has a hell of a pedigree. He's a 7-time national champion, and he's tough. He can fight, said Ellis about Roach. Tank Davis bears the responsibility for not stepping into the ring with more skilled opponents. He has the opportunity to challenge top contenders, yet he hesitates. Fighters like Andy Cruz, Keyshawn Davis, Raymond Muratalla, and Floyd Schofield would eagerly seize the chance to face Tank if the opportunity presented itself. I don't think he's upset. As long as he can get a fight, he's good. He just likes to fight, said Ellis when asked if he thinks Tank Davis is upset that he's not getting the big marquee fights that he feels he deserves, like Shakur Stevenson and Vasily Lomachenko at 135. If those guys choose to fight him one day, they can get it. If not, life goes on, said Ellis. Kenny Ellis's nonchalant stance on Tank Davis missing out on crucial matchups highlights a troubling reality. They aren't facing the toughest competition. It seems they prefer to settle for mediocrity, opting for the path of least resistance instead of striving for greatness through hard work and dedication. In a recent interview, Gary Russell Jr. didn't hold back as he criticized Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney, labeling them as weak. The former featherweight champion accused WBA regular lightweight title holder Tank Davis of bamboozling fans by selectively facing less formidable opponents. Russell believes Davis is deliberately avoiding matchups that would truly challenge him, all to protect his unbeaten record and keep the fans from seeing the bouts they genuinely want. Tank Davis has been clinging to the secondary WBA lightweight title for quite some time, allowing him to sidestep the more perilous challenges that would come his way if he were to claim the primary championship. Russell had little opinion of Tank's most recent opponent selection, Lamont Roach, who was resurrected from the super featherweight class. Tank has been fighting a lot of people that fans don't want to see him fight anyway. I could have seen that coming, said Gary Russell Jr. to Fight Hype, reacting to Gervonta Davis handpicking Lamont Roach from the super featherweight division rather than selecting a lightweight. Throughout his 11-year career, Gervonta has faced opponents that failed to excite fans. The one exception came when he squared off against Ryan Garcia, a matchup that many anticipated but was ultimately seen as unbalanced. Any hope Ryan had of securing a victory was effectively undermined by the weight stipulations that Gervonta insisted on in the contract, which left him at a disadvantage. I don't think he can do that for much longer. I believe the fans, as well as the media networks like yourself, that have the platform and have the ability to push, Russell said, when asked how much longer Tank Davis can get away with cherry-picking weak opposition the way he's been doing his entire 11-year career. In the eyes of his supporters, Lamont Roach is a top-tier fighter. Yet, the caliber of opponents that Tank has encountered since his pro debut in 2013 is likely to keep his pay-per-view numbers from soaring for the rest of his career. With his current matchups, it's hard to envision him ever reaching the milestone of 1 million buys, as he's simply not facing the rivals that fans are eager to watch. Russell said, "Y'all are the ones who are being bamboozled. Y'all want to see the best compete against the best, and the people that y'all feel as though are the best, they're not trying to compete against the best. They'd rather fight someone that y'all don't even know. Y'all never heard of them." If Tank's management genuinely prioritized putting him up against top-tier opponents, they would be arranging a showdown with Edwin De Los Santos on December 14th instead of Lamont Roach. Back in 2017, when Vasily Lomachenko first issued a challenge, that would have been the perfect opportunity for him to step into the ring. Russell added, "Everybody is like, damn, why is he fighting this person? Nah, that stuff is too difficult for them. Your favorite fighters are s***ers out here. That's a fact. A period on that. It ain't no perception. Tank is picking and choosing. I always say, it ain't nothing personal, but Tank gotta take it personally if I'm saying, I think you're a wimp because you're fighting someone that's not a dog." Russell expressed that he didn't want to discredit Lamont Roach, acknowledging that he knew Roach and his family, describing them as good people. However, he emphasized that there were levels to everything and criticized the notion of framing the fight as Baltimore against a local competitor. He accused Tank of picking and choosing his opponents, questioning when pride, ego, and integrity would drive fighters to truly test their abilities. He wondered where that mentality existed in the sport today. He said, "If they're both 100% healthy, I don't think Lamont has a chance of winning this fight. In my personal opinion, I don't think Lamont is going to win the fight. It'll be interesting in the beginning half of the fight. In the latter half of the fight, Tank is going to start walking him down and start touching him. KO or TKO, one of the two, Russell added. It'll be a money grab type of thing for Lamont. He'll get a little money, but it's not the career-defining stuff. Tank fighting Lamont Roach is not a career-defining fight. It's not a fight where people will think that he's at risk, or Lamont is a threat to him. Meanwhile, trainer Calvin Ford appeared visibly stressed as he addressed inquiries regarding Gervonta Tank Davis's choice of Lamont Roach as his next opponent. Ford's justification for Tank fighting Roach feels rather weak, claiming it's beneficial for the community. However, boxing fans don't share that sentiment, especially since they're the ones shelling out $75.95 for Tank's pay-per-view bouts. This certainly doesn't seem to benefit them. At 29 years old, Roach faced defeat against Jamel Herring in 2019, but he has since notched victories over Fergal McCrory, Hector Luis Garcia, and Angel Rodriguez. However, those opponents don't quite rank among the elite. His loss to Herring underscores the doubts about Roach's readiness for a matchup with Tank. They've been knowing each other since the amateurs, the silver gloves, and everything. They grew up with each other, said trainer Calvin Ford to Fight Hype, talking about Gervonta Davis knowing Lamont Roach Jr. well from the past. Fans are less concerned about Tank Davis's history with Roach from their old neighborhood, and more focused on his potential matchups against top contenders at 135. They're eager to see him take on fighters like William Zepeda, Raymond Muratela, Andy Cruz, Abdullah Mason, and Keyshawn Davis. Roach and him had back-and-forth battles and whatnot. It's going to be a pretty interesting fight because Roach comes to fight. I think it's a great fight. Everybody talking all that stuff. Why Roach? Because he took the fight, and it's good for the community, said Ford. He doesn't specify which community he's referring to. Is it the one in Baltimore and Washington, D.C.? The fan base extends far beyond that small region. Tank needs to broaden his perspective and consider the larger audience across the country, instead of continuing to shy away from the skilled fighters at 135. This marks the third occasion on which Tank Davis has chosen a super featherweight to challenge him for his WBA lightweight title. Previously, he faced off against 130-pound fighters Hector Luis Garcia and Leo Santa Cruz. People are going to do that. That's what fans do. They give bad criticism, said Ford, criticizing fighters when they take weak opponents, especially when they do it repeatedly throughout their careers, as Tank Davis has done. I remember when everyone was saying I should let Pitbull fight Tank again. They were talking about that, and then when he won that belt, WBA light welterweight, boom. I don't get involved with that. I just prepare him and get him ready to put on a great performance for the fans and whatnot. Like I said, we just focus on the fight in front of us, and that's the fight in front of us, said Ford, about Roach being the next title defense for Gervonta. That answer from Ford isn't good enough, saying, we just focus on the fight in front of us. That's hardly a solution. It seems we need the Grand Inquisitor to hold Ford accountable and extract genuine explanations for Tank Davis's decision to fight Roach. This situation runs deeper than his statements suggest. There's an element of fear influencing Tank's choices. He's opting for what feels like a safe bet, taking the path of least resistance to secure easy money while dodging potential risks. Now, we know that Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Gervonta Davis once showcased a connection unlike any other in the boxing. Some might label it as a mentor-mentee dynamic or even a father-son bond, but that chapter has closed. Their relationship soured when Tank claimed that Mayweather prevented him from training at his gym in preparation for his fight against Ryan Garcia in 2023. The rift deepened further in 2022 when Davis severed ties with Mayweather Promotions, opting to forge his own path. Surprisingly, Mayweather didn't seem upset by this decision. Nothing lasts forever. I will always love Tank. I like him. Love him. Look at him as a son. He has to do what's best for him, he said. However, it wasn't long before Tank began taking shots at the veteran fighter. Do you recall when the 29-year-old claimed that Pretty Boy was stranded in Dubai due to unresolved debts? From that point on, the situation deteriorated, leading to rampant speculation about a potential match between the two. Davis's coaches have offered their insights on money. In a recent Instagram clip, Calvin Ford opened up about the behind-the-scenes dynamics at play. First, Coach Kenny Ellis was seen talking. He questioned, if he is like a son to Floyd, why would you put him out? How could you put him out? Biggest fight of his career coming up, and you put him out of the gym. Why? You want him to lose? That's the question. Do you want him to lose? It was Ford's time next. He clarified the emotional state of affairs between Mayweather Jr. and Davis, referring to it as a different type of beast. He continued, that dad coaching stuff. You get what I'm saying? It's emotions in it. You know, that situation, boy. It's heavy, you know? The Baltimore coach recounted his conversation with Mayweather, where he inquired about the alleged ban on Tank from his gym. In response, the undefeated champion firmly denied any involvement in such a decision. Both the coaches put the accountability on Mayweather, and Ellis even said, I would love for the media to ask him what was on your mind when you put Tank out of the gym. We from Baltimore, man. Any situation, we staying 10 toes down. The grind don't stop. However, Ford tried to see the positives. I recall that day vividly. It was a lesson within a lesson. It was not a negative experience. In fact, it was quite the opposite, as as it helped them overcome significant obstacles. What they initially perceived as adverse was, in reality, beneficial. One must discern the light within the darkness, and we recognized it. It was indeed good, he wrote in the caption, and also said something similar in the video. Ford noted that the undefeated fighter, known for his 30-0 record, pushed himself to new heights, resulting in a stunning 7th-round knockout of King Rai. This victory not only reinforced Davis's status as a leading lightweight boxer, but also established him as a pay-per-view sensation. So, what lies ahead for him? Davis is riding a wave of success as he prepares to defend his WBA title against Lamont Roach Jr. on December 14th at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Roach, boasting an impressive January 1st 25 record, last stepped into the ring against Fergal McCrory in June, where he secured a victory by TKO. One of his most notable triumphs came in 2023 when he claimed a world title with a split decision win over Hector Garcia. In contrast, Davis faced off against Frank Martin in June, emerging victorious with a knockout. The outcome of this matchup is certainly something to keep an eye on. However, the dynamic between the boxer and Floyd Mayweather Jr. has deteriorated to the point of no return, with Davis frequently taking jabs at him on social media. This raises an intriguing question. What emotions does Floyd Mayweather Jr. experience as he watches Davis in the ring today? It all began in 2015, 2 years after the younger boxer had stepped into the professional ring for the first time. Mayweather first laid eyes on Davis at one of Adrian Bronner's training camps, a moment that would lead to Davis joining the ranks of Mayweather Promotions.
Set you off that you was like, I gotta do that.
A lot of people don't know that what Floyd do. He said.
So you feel like it was a sub, like he was subbing you, like, oh, like
he was going at me. He was going at me, and I knew for sure he was going at me. That's why I went at him. There's no reason for me to go at Floyd.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Cause I feel like y'all got, I would say love and hate, but it's been like the last interview you showed them love. This week it was whatever. But is that sometimes like, you know, is it just like big bro, little bro seeing things different, or what is it to you?
No, Floyd don't never. He felt as though I'm at that point where as though I passed him. And I'm doing it at a young age. Wait, like when Floyd was 29, you'll see, bro.
Yeah.
That deal that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, that's a part of the deal.
He don't know about that yet. But that's bigger than his deal.
Damn. Wow.
And I'm just releasing it.
Exclusive. That's exclusive. Bigger than Floyd deal.
Yeah.
Don't cap. That's a lot of bread.
You'll see. It's gonna come out.
Meanwhile, Davis reacted to a discussion that speculated whether 2025 might mark the year he would finally fight credible names. The conversation also raised doubts about his age in relation to the caliber of opponents he has faced throughout his career. A supporter leapt to Tank's aid, passionately declaring that his victories against Ryan Garcia, Frank Martin, Isaac Cruz, and Jose Pedraza were undeniably legitimate, particularly considering the dominant fashion in which he secured those wins. Tank tweeted, "I'm the only boxer that doesn't get any credit for my wins, but their favorite fighters fought the same people after I fought them. Crazy, but it is true." Make sure to check out some of our other videos on the screen if you enjoyed this one.